So I've been coming to this class on Monday nights on the book of Job in the Bible. It's been really good so far. It's like the class is halfway over. Coming to this Bible class on the book of Job, thinking like how we deal with pain and suffering and stuff that happens in the world and tying it all together. It really just makes me think about a lot of things. This morning I woke up to the news of the shooting in Vegas. For some reason lately I've been feeling really just this weird darkness, and I've been noticing our flawed humanity and all these problems in the world and how people are, and it just starts making me think about the choices that people can make and the capacity that we have as humans. So in studying this book, if you're not familiar with the book of Job in the Bible, it's a story of this man who had all this money, had all this land, had all these animals, had like a big family, was like a very godly man, very faithful, true to his faith, like lived a good life, was good, did everything good. And then everything was taken away from him. And in this, it brings up these questions of back in the day, back in that time, it was like God punishes the wicked and rewards the good kind of thing. So it brings up all these questions of, wait, but I'm good and I didn't do anything wrong and God punished me, you know, but why? Like why do bad things happen to good people? Why did this happen to me? And his friends, of course, come and say, oh, well, you know, you must have done something bad. It reminds me of this movie that I watched. This is like such a bad thing to say if something bad happens to someone. In the movie, shoot, what was that movie about miracles with Jennifer Garner? Something about miracles from heaven. So in that movie, she goes to her church and there's a lady at church who's like, oh, well, you should think about what you might have done to deserve this or something, to have, you know, her daughter got really sick. She's like, why, you know? And it like, these things challenge your faith and you can be like angry at God. Like, why would this happen to me? It's not fair. And it just makes us think about like when bad things happen, when there's all these hurricanes. I don't like when people say bad things happen for a reason, like, oh, you know, this happened for a reason, or, you know, God is punishing people for something, or, oh, these are bad people so they need to be wiped away. People will come up with all these reasons for bad things to happen, like horrible things people can say, and it's not true. And I think we should think about what we say to people in that way. Like, never say, oh, well, this happened for a reason. It's like, no, like, you know, we can't just accept that things happen, you know, things just happen to us, good and bad, and what happens happens. Yeah, that's something I was thinking about. Oh, and a point that the teacher of the class made that really stuck with me was, after all this happened to him, Job, the main character, he grieved so much. His friends he like ripped off his clothes, cut his hair, was like in, you know, actually grieving. And he made the point that today we don't always properly grieve over things. We like, you know, sweep things under the rug, don't think about it, don't talk about it, don't want to be like depressing and stuff, instead of fully allowing ourselves to feel every emotion and truly experience grief like in your body, like let it just go through you, instead of trying to push it aside or suppress it, because then in doing that throughout your life, it's going to come back up and you're going to project it onto other people instead of actually dealing with it yourself. So that was a huge thing that I took away from, and I think it's really good. And I love studying this book because, you know, we're living in these times where all these bad things have been happening lately, and I find it interesting to read this book that was written so long ago, and yet it applies to our lives today, all of us. Like, they don't really know who the author of the book was, and it's a fictional story. It's not like like it didn't actually happen, but it's interesting to study it and be able to take this old book and apply it to our lives today. And another thing people don't realize is, like, we don't read the Bible as if it's like a science textbook or a history textbook. Like, we read it for what it is. Like, it's poetry, it's stories, it's things we apply to our life. Some people can take it and think it's like science, you know, like the earth was created in 7 days. Like, that's not actually literally 7 days. And he also talked about in the class today about like science and evolution and all this other stuff, and how, you know, we can all embrace these things, we can embrace these teachings and stuff. We don't have to, everything is not so literal. It's really good to come to, like, in modern day 2017, coming to this class and we're reading this super old book And yet all these horrible things keep happening. Things happen to us, things happen in the world, and like, how do we make sense of this all? And sometimes it's like, you know what, we need to stop trying to make so much sense out of things and just be like, you know what, we're all people. People do bad things, you know, we all have capacity for good, we all have capacity for bad. The world, bad things happen to us. And instead of just being all like, oh my gosh, this means something, or you like did something to deserve something, or something bad's gonna happen to you, or like, oh, God's gonna get them because they're a bad person. Like, no. So all these things I've been thinking about are like coming up in this class. And also I feel really bad because yesterday, actually last night, when the shooting happened in Vegas, I was just at my friend's house, not a care in the world, nothing bad. Like, we were all just having a good time. We were watching football, we were like playing games, listening to music, whatever. And then woke up the next morning, this morning actually, to the news, and I feel like every day there's another thing. It's like, oh, another news story, another shooting, another bombing, another horrible thing happening in the world. And it's just like, it really weighs on me, and I just think about it, and I just think of all the people and the families. I think about these other people who are going through such horrible tragedies. You know, like, other people woke up without a family member, without the ability to, you know, ever see someone ever again. And I just think of my life, and I'm like, ugh. Like, what if that were me? I put myself in other people's shoes. Like, what if that were me? What if it was my family member? What if it was someone that I knew, you know? And trying to learn what I'm learning and like apply that to my own life and how I can deal with things fully instead of like suppressing the emotions and the, you know, dealing with grief and stuff like that and loss. And you know, actually allowing ourselves to fully feel the pain and things instead of suppressing it or pretending it's okay or pretending it doesn't exist. You know, just like allowing ourselves to fully be human. And I was recently thinking, like, we are on this earth to fully be human, to be free, to make choices, to feel all the feelings and, like, you know, good and bad, everything that happens to us. We should be fully and deeply living and feeling everything. Because then even when you experience the bad, you have the good to contrast that with it. So yeah, all these things, I just think about life. So this is day 2. Wait, no, that was day 3. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I will. I made a commitment to myself. Have to honor my commitments every single day in October.